that's what people misunderstand about friendship. They think affection is enough, and it's not enough. You need that interest of this is this thing that we both are so geeked up about, so hyped up about. And I want to talk about it with this person more than anyone. And that can change your life.
All right, let's kick off today's show. Today we're talking with friendship journalist Anna Goldfarb about the modern friendship paradox we are all feeling. Anna's written hundreds of articles that explore the nuances of friendship, relationships, and pop psychology. Today she's with us to discuss her new book, Modern Friendship: How to Nurture Our Most Valued Connections. She shares why every friendship needs an about section, how the triple D friendship formula works, and why friendship compartmentalization is normal. Welcome to the show, Anna. Great to have you.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
A lot of our listeners have expressed frustration with us around modern friendship, and it feels like it's harder than ever to make friends as an adult. What do you think is going on?
Oh my God, that's a great question. I wrote a book on this exact topic called Modern Friendship because things have changed. Things have changed like significantly from really just a few generations ago. And I think people can sense that it's changed, but they may not have the language or vocabulary or even the wherewithal to explain like why this is. I mean, we have so many ways to connect with people. We have all of our loved ones in our phone, in our pocket, but we rarely reach out to them. So what's going on is that, for our grandparents and grandparents, they usually didn't have much choice and the kinds of friends they could have. It's usually people, same gender as them, same part of life they are in. Maybe they're all parents, they all live in the same suburb, they all live in the same village. But now we have so much more choice of who we can befriend. We have unlimited choice. And when you think of all the reasons people start friendships, it's like an explosion of different things to have friendships over that weren't even really an option 100 years ago. Like we're both into Harry Potter. Okay. We're both into pop culture, both into music. We're both into, marathons. All these things weren't as available really just a few generations ago for people to bond over. So it all kind of has added up to we move around more. Friendships are more based on interests and hobbies, but there's more kinds of hobbies to have. And people shed friendships a lot easier because if your friendship's based on interest and you lose that interest or you move into a new phase of life where that's not as compelling to you, those friendships might be easier to shed.
Definitely reminds me of when you go to the Cheesecake Factory and you just stare at the menu and you don't know what to pick because there's just so many options. And I feel like so many of us are choosing so many hobbies and outside pursuit, and we have more leisure time than ever as a generation. And because of that, it's hard for us to stick with things long enough to also create friendship. And really, we've talked a lot on the show about time spent together equals friendship. And it feels like time is just completely at such a scarce commodity these days. It's hard to spend the quality time you need to turn that person you're working out next to or the person at the racquetball club into that friend.
Yeah, time is at a premium. And also we have so much choice. I mean, I could be friends with different genders. That's not something that wasn't available to my mom. My mom was married at 21. I got married at 39. So the kinds of friendships I was able to develop is radically different than the kinds my mom, my grandma did. It's been like we're in a new era. We're in a hyper fluid era for friendship. So yes, it is different. The water is different. And that means we need to update our strategies too for how to keep friends around.
I think the flip side of that perspective with all of that choice is that we also tend not to keep people around as much. So we don't look past faults. We don't give people the benefit of the doubt. We're quick to dismiss. Oh, they ghosted us, or they didn't show up, or they canceled on me. Whereas in the past, if you only had a handful of people to select from, well, you're not going to let them go as easily either.
Yeah. And well, also in the past, we had more help. We had more help maintaining friendships. If you met all your friends through the same church or the same synagogue, or you worked in the same workplace for 50 years, you had a place to practice your friendship. You didn't have to spend so much energy like individually deciding, is this a friendship I want to worth keeping? Is this a friendship worth keeping? Would help. But now the balance has shifted. I mean, we're in such an individualistic society. And that's the trade-off to all this individualism is, well, it's up to me who I want to associate with, but it's also all on me to decide who's like which friendships are meeting the moment, which friendships can give me better financial advice, which friendships can help me with my job, which friendships, make me laugh. And it's just more information to sort through. Especially like a lot of us have more higher education. We meet people at college who have really exciting like commonalities with us, but then we're blasted apart and we all moved to different parts of the country. And it's like, well, how do I keep these friendships up? When, if your grandma lived in the same house for 90 years, she didn't have to juggle all these connections with people that she bonded so deeply with, but then they have to negotiate that of how we're going to stay in touch. It's just a very, very different world that we live in.
People tend to feel that they have let their old friends down because they have not been able to keep up with them. But the reality is, people's lives change at a much more rapid pace now than they had in the past, because we're getting all of this instantaneous information. So as we get that information, we update our worldviews, we update our interests, everything gets updated. And so we end up in different spaces. I'm sure everyone listening to this has read an article or saw a YouTube clip that changed their life in an instant. And this is common now. In fact, I mean, for myself, I look for those paradigm shifts online. It's a lot of fun for me. And this is what we get access to. But with that and those updates, we change our interests. We change who would be good fits for us to be hanging out with, and so does everybody else. And if we go back to 2020, things have changed drastically in the last 5 years, and that trajectory, to me, isn't slowing down. In fact, with AI, it's only speeding up. So those people who feel that way, who feel down about trying to keep up with all of these loose ties, shouldn't. However, we are going to give them some tools and some things that they can use today to at least try to catch up with the folks that they do want to get back up with.
I think that the problem here is language. The word friend is so ambiguous. It can mean so many different things. And one of the most helpful things I learned researching friendship is that there's two categories of friendships. There's active friendships and there's nostalgic friendships. And just understanding what kind of friendship is this? Is this a friendship where we talk all the time? We have a clear and compelling reason to be in touch? Or is it a nostalgic friendship where we have a lot of history, but we don't have a reason to seek one another out?
I'm going to add one to that. We now have in real life friends and online friends. And I have made the mistake of calling people that I chatted with online friends. I've never met these people. I don't even know if they're who they said they are. But we have some sort of online relationship where we chat about what's going on in the world.
Yeah, and that's important. It's important. Like, we're so connected, but we're also lonely. And one of the reasons for that is that we now live in a bit of a spoke network, like a bicycle wheel, where we're in the middle and we have these branches of cohorts from different parts of our life, childhood, maybe school, work, your first job, your second, your third job, your passions, but they only share common history with you, not with each other. So when your social network looks like that, it's inevitable that you're going to feel more lonely because it really is like you're your own social director. You have your own clipboard of like, okay, who should I be reaching out to today? Who's on the list? Who can I let go for a few more weeks? Who should I be calling in? And it's why it's so exhausting having modern friendships, is that the burden is on us to keep a friendship active.
And the hard part about that is when it's gone too long with either one of you keeping in touch, we can then feel the anxiety around being the first one to reconnect.
Yeah.
And in failing to do that, we don't keep those relationships strong. And especially with your nostalgia friend, where maybe you don't have as much in common anymore. Maybe they started a family before you. Maybe they went really focused on their career and you've been focused on more of your passions, or you're on sabbatical and you're traveling. And yeah, you spent a lot of time together in college and you grew up on a similar block in a neighborhood, and you had all these commonality points when there was ample time at your disposal in your teens and 20s to spend together. And now you're not finding the moments where it's like, well, I started a family, I'm pretty busy over here. And we make assumptions about the other person based on what we're seeing about them posting online, like, oh, they're too busy or they got other things to talk about. And then we don't take that initial step of just reaching back out. And the science shows with the amount of time it takes to build a new friend, if we dedicated a little bit of time to responding to those old friends and rekindling those relationships that we've had, we'd feel a lot less lonely.
And it's not just about reaching out. One of the most important things I learned in this book is that every friendship needs an about. And the about needs to be clear and compelling. So it's more, what are we going to talk about? And is it going to be compelling to both people? And let me be a little specific here, because when I mention this, people are like, well, what's an about? What's a friendship about? Researchers did a study in 2021 of the 5 reasons people tend to make friends. The first is career. We want people who can help us with our career. Second is mating. We want people who can introduce us to other people. In our 20s, it's a huge reason why we kept friends around, to go out, party, meet people. The third is what they call desirable qualities. And that means someone is like ridiculously fun, they're hilarious, and you share hobbies and passions. You're really attracted to them. The fourth is emotional support. And the fifth is what they call sociability. And that means you basically want to be in the mix. Like you join a kickball league, you join a book club, you just want to be part of something around other people. So when you understand why people make friends, my hope is that you can understand why friends may not be reaching out to you too. Like, are you helping with their career? Are you helping them bring them out into the world with stuff that they want to do? Are you good with emotional support? Do you know how to provide it? All of these things, it's like playing music and learning the notes of friendship. And it's not just, I'm going to reach out to this friend. Hey, I miss you. It's been a while. But then there's no like indication of why you're reaching out. I'm reaching out because I want to spend more time with you. I mean, think about that kind of invitation. I really miss you, AJ. I want to spend more time together. Like, what are you working on? How can I help? Well, that might be a more compelling invitation to you of, well, actually, I want to move my body more. Like, do you want to, do a basketball game? Like, actually, well, here's what's important to me. And then as friends, we can work with people on helping them do things that they already want to do.
It's finding that Venn diagram. And I think so much of modern communication right now is instead it's one-way update. Okay, here's all the things that I did since we last talked 90 days ago. All right, now your turn. Give me all the things that you did. Oh, it was a great catch up. No concrete plans to hang out. And then we're just drifting further apart from that about. Like, what is the core connection here that really keeps us together? And I know the book really introduces 6 hard truths. And I think as we went through them, it's really important to recognize, like, it's okay. I think a lot of what modern society does, especially in the media, is they portray a level of friendship, friends, for example, that just doesn't line up with modern friendship. It doesn't line up with the truths about friends. And because of that, we internalize it and we have a lot of frustration with ourselves. We beat ourselves up. We think we're the problem. We're the only ones that feel this way. When in actuality, we're all feeling this way because we don't understand these 6 hard truths. So I think it'd be helpful for you to start to unpack them for our audience, and we can share some of our insights as well.
I mean, the first truth is that friends will disappoint us. Anything with the art of people, you're going to run into some hiccups because people are not perfect. And it really is modern friendship is about learning how to be flexible and surf those waves and not get pulled under, which was actually a sign that I saw at Home Goods. Like, it's not even like a maxim that I came up with. It's literally something I saw at Home Goods. And I'm like, that is true. Friends will definitely disappoint us. Friends won't show up. Friends will say strange things to us. And it's really on us to learn how to repair, how to be flexible, how to be resilient, and understand, when you understand why a friendship exists, when you understand what your about is, it'll make it easier to weather these kinds of interpersonal hiccups of, listen, like, we're together. We're in the same book club. We give each other emotional support. I freaking love you. You're so hilarious. We have movies in common. I'm more likely to fight for the friendship and give leeway and be generous, give the benefit of the doubt if you know why you're friends in the first place.
My therapist would share my expectations often lead to that disappointment. And oftentimes in friendship, we don't realize that we're putting expectations on them that they couldn't possibly keep with the life that they're leading. A lot of those expectations, we think in a perfect world, like, I'd love for them to show up for me all the time. And I'd love for them to be my biggest cheerleader. And I love that next referral that leads to career growth for me. But exactly that, people are struggling right now. So there's going to be lots of times where your friends are going to let you down. They're not going to show you up. We can't take it personally. And if it really impacts us that much, well, we got to start to communicate those expectations of like what we need out of this relationship as part of that repair.
It's very powerful to model to your friends of, this is what it looks like to be flexible, to say, take your time. I understand. Like, I am giving you grace, and to practice the kinds of friendships that you would want to be in personally. I'd want a friend who gave me grace and gave me some leeway, or understood if I said the wrong thing, to kind of work with me and give me the benefit of the doubt, to repair.
Definitely.
The second truth is that friendships are going to change. And I think that was a shock in my 30s. Like, I really thought, friendships would go on indefinitely, like a bullet in space. Like, literally, we're in a vacuum. We're just going to go straight ahead. And I didn't know, actually, friendships are designed to be fluid. They're designed to be flexible. In the book, I really lean into the water imagery to highlight how fluid our friendships are. And it's, no one's doing anything wrong. This is how people operate today.
And I think with that, a lot of us, have built those friendships in young adulthood when they take the shape of the container that we're in. Like, we're all experiencing very similar things through our college years. We're all going through the same sorts of turmoil. But then once we actually graduate and start adulthood and start our careers, then the path in front of us is vast, and it could literally go in completely opposite directions. You don't realize how much of that confinement in college is you're all kind of making the same choices. So it creates this environment where, yeah, that friendship's going to last forever, because for the last 4 years, we've shared all of our deepest, darkest secrets. But now one of us had kids, or one of us had to move across the country and set up a whole new social circle in a new city, and we're facing entirely different challenges. And now we're making choices that we probably don't always align with, like we wouldn't make if we were in their shoes. And you start to see the drift.
Friendships can be very fragile. And I think that that's part of the heartbreak of friendship. Your friendships fall off a cliff in your 30s, by design, because you're becoming more things to more people. You're going to prioritize perhaps your romantic relationships and the new relationships that come in your life when you have in-laws, when you have children, nieces and nephews. Like, there's just more that life can demand from you as an adult, and you have no practice juggling this with your friends in your 20s. So it's like we're all baby Bambis being like, are we doing this right? Like, I still love you and I miss you, but this doesn't feel like steady ground that we're on. And that actually leads to my third truth, which I thought was very important to put into words, which is that friendships require maturity. And I don't think we talk enough about what maturity looks like in modern life. There's so much convenience that we have. We have so many things tailored exactly to our specifications in our almost all touch points in our life. And when you want to go do friend making and do friendship maintenance, it really requires maturity of like, how much am I bringing into this? How much am I being, how much emotion am I bringing into this? What's actually going on here? I need to be mature. I need to talk to my friends when something's on my mind. I mean, what does that bring up for you when you hear that?
I think it brings up that emotional support piece that I feel is one of the big skill sets that we work on with our clients, is recognizing that that fosters real relationships. And oftentimes it may seem, based on the funhouse mirrors that are the internet, that, oh, people are being appreciated because they posted it online, or, oh, they posted some negative thing and people in the comments are showing them emotional support. But all of that surface online emotional support is not really the support that your friends need from you. And if you can show up for them in a deeper, more meaningful way, in a mature way, not just the like button or, hey, happy birthday message, but actually show up for them in these moments, well, you can deepen and foster those relationships in a way that I think is missing right now. Because a lot of assumptions are being made based on what we're seeing being posted or heard about from friends of friends. Oh, their life's great. Oh, things are going. I'm not going to bother them. But it's missing that emotional support piece that we really rely on in our friendships.
What do you think, John, when you hear that friendships require maturity?
The thing that I was thinking about while you were talking about it was, we're looking at the evolution of social media and how it ties us together or detaches us, how, depending on how it's being used. But let's take Facebook, for example, because to me, Facebook was the transition from everyone's normal, oh, look, here's social media that everybody got on, right? It came after MySpace, and then exploded to where everybody was online. However, everyone collected all of their friends on Facebook. And what I saw, and certainly this was magnified in 2020, was when COVID happened and everything else, everyone was posting online how they were feeling and what they were going through and what was happening with them and their thoughts of it all. And it was a crazy time and a lot of misinformation flying around, and no one really knew what was happening and what was to come. Now, with that, what everyone found was not all of my friends believe the things that I do or have the same worldview that I have. And now all of a sudden, people that I thought, who I just went to rock shows with and had beers with, or people that I went to run club with and were fitness, their politics were different than mine. And then all of a sudden, we're starting to see that because we're posting our random thoughts, and for a lot of people, they're not even really thinking about what they're posting. They're just posting something that came into their mind, and all of a sudden, they're getting an angry response back. So now I'm sure there's many more things that contributed to that. But now we've seen people get very particular of what they post on Facebook because they can't post all of their thoughts anymore because they have too many friends from too many different places, which then drove into what made TikTok so popular, which is I can have an account. I can say all of my deepest, craziest things, and none of my friends will see it because the only people that know about this TikTok are the people that I told. So now what we're seeing is social media going to a place where you can be anonymous. You can be this account that people would have to search and find, and maybe they saw your stuff. And people lose it. We're like, oh my God, my mom just found my TikTok that I've had for 5 years. But that being is what we saw was this compartmentalize of friendships, right? These are the friends that I do this with. But we don't talk about these things, and they don't meet these friends, and they don't come over here, and they don't know about this in my life, because now we started to understand that there are more different worldviews out there. We have friends from way too many different places that are all interacting together, and we're seeing that everyone has different worldviews. Everyone has different experiences that have led them to where they are today, that they're extremely passionate about. And so, of course, everything that happens online trickles into our real life interactions. And so, just like social media, now everything's compartmentalized in real life.
And I think it's led to an immaturity in prejudging people based on their views or labeling, and you're on my side or you're not my side. The polarization that's happening is also coinciding with exactly what you talked about, this rise of us all living online more, consuming the algorithms more, and getting our distorted reality based on our interests. And Johnny and I will laugh. We'll ask each other, well, what side of the internet are you on today? Like, where'd you get that piece of information? Because I didn't encounter it at all.
Are you seeing these things?
And then I have to do a dig and, oh, okay, now I'm seeing a different algorithm. And, that's happening in real time in a way that humans we've never faced before. We would sit around a campfire, we'd sit around a dinner table, we'd break bread. And because we were face to face in a room together, those conflicts and rifts and different worldviews didn't feel as sharp as they do online.
And you had to handle them in a mature way because you valued your in real life friends dearly. In fact, they made up your family and your community. And you did not want to be
ostracized from that,
chased out. You didn't want to be ostracized. Where online, you get booted from one community for your political beliefs or whatever you're discussing. You just find another group that will accept you. And it's no big deal because now you're just like, well, they don't understand me like these new people do.
Well, I will say social media does not set us up for success and really elevates things that are controversial because they want engagement and they want people to stay on the app more. It's not designed to really make you feel connected. It's designed to get you feeling something, emotion, like angry, disgust, whatever. As I've learned more about friendships working on this book, I have naturally pulled away from social media because what social media does is flatten our social circle. It gives you all this information about people that you don't need to know this much information about. And it scrambles you. It scrambles your idea of who's in your community. And as I learned that what we should be doing is triaging our friendships. We should be picking a few friends and be outstanding to them, not try to keep up every connection we've ever made throughout our whole life, because that'll just be, it's overwhelming. It's like going to a supermarket and when you're starving and you're just overwhelmed by all the choices and all the opinions flying at you. But if you go to food shopping when you have a list and you're not starving, you know exactly who you should be focusing on. So that's what I've learned. And I've taken that philosophy with me in my own life of I don't need to know what my third grade best friend thinks about, tariffs.
In the beginning, you would be posting, hey, I got a kitten. I got a kitten. And it'd be a photo and everyone in your friend group would see that. And then they'd reach out to you and be like, oh, I want to meet the kitten. But now, to your point, the algorithms have forced outrage and emotion into your feed in a way that you don't even see your friends anymore unless they're commenting outrageous things. So you're seeing sides of your friends that you probably don't need to see, and you would much rather see in a normal conversation than in the online world that distorts all of it.
It's so addictive to get angry, to get outraged. Like I have family members who are on Facebook every day, take it so seriously, and like forwarding. It's like, oh my God, this is designed. This is a casino designed to get you outraged. And this is not how our brains were developed. This is not how we're supposed to, be using our time on this precious earth. Like we should be doing things more for connection, not just to get the cheap thrill of, outrage. And not to say that these things aren't important, by the way. Like there are many important things that deserve our attention. I'm not trying to minimize that. But social media isn't designed for that, for us to have thoughtful, nuanced conversations.
When you recognize its utility as a tool to stay in touch, and then you move to more personal touch points off of social media around what you're learning about people and what they're posting that is important to them, I think that's a better use. But all in all, at the end of the day, the real friendships that we crave are built in person, spending quality time together, really getting to know each other deeply. They're not spent in online chat rooms and online spaces.
No, and that's because you're not making memories. When you just chat online all day, it's like a non-memory. There's really nothing like it. But when you go somewhere novel with a friend, when you say, remember that time we went to, that pool hall and I tripped and, de-pantsed that guy. Wasn't that hilarious? Like, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
those memories add richness to our friendships. And that's why social media will never compare. Never compare.
Relationships are about the experiences that you share.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect segue into the triple D model that you talk about in your book, because I feel so many of us are missing the last piece, which we can use social media as a tool to surface those memories that you're talking about, to surface those moments that we did commemorate when Facebook was just cat photos and our friends doing fun things online and not all of the political outrage that it is now. So what can we do? Walk us through the triple D model to really engage with these people that are important in our life.
I was trying to think of a word to describe the kind of friend I wanted to be. And I realized there's a limitation in language. Like what word describes it? And I came across the word wholehearted. And wholehearted means committed, dedicated, and enthusiastic. And I'm like, that is the kind of friendships I want to enjoy. That's the kind of friend I want my friends to, describe me as. So this was my paradigm I discovered called wholehearted friendship. And it's based on the work of Jeffrey A. Hall, who's a professor of communication at Kansas University. And I know you've quoted his research about how many hours it takes to become a friend. I mean, it takes time, just like you said. And I wanted to bring in the other piece of, well, how do we decide how to spend our time? Like, is friendships just a weird, random silo in our life? Or how is that involved in the whole mix of the decisions we make day to day? And I learned that friendships require three things. It's who you yearn to spend time with, that's desire. Who you prioritize spending time with, that's diligence. And who you actually enjoy spending your time with, that's delight. So it's all revolving around time, who you think about, who you make time for, and who you enjoy. And what I learned about desire in a friendship is that you need that clear and compelling reason for both people to make time. And actually, there's an anecdote I share in the book that was very powerful for me with my friend Adam. And he was working at the Apple store and he's really into comic books. And he got a new comic book on his lunch break. And his coworker, Octavia, said, "Oh, you're into comic books?" And my friend Adam was like, "Yeah, I love comic books." And they just chatted away about comic books. They started calling each other to talk about comic books. They started a podcast about comic books. And then one day, Octavius got very sick and he needed a kidney transplant. And my friend Adam, without hesitation, volunteered. And, he donated his kidney to his best friend, Octavius, saving his life. And Octavius appointed Adam as the godfather, the godparent of his baby daughter. So now they became family. And you look at this story of a friend donating a kidney to another friend, and you're like, oh my God, I want a friendship where someone would give me a kidney, or I want the kind of friendship.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it started over comic books. That's the about that was so compelling to both of them. And that's what people misunderstand about friendship. They think affection is enough, and it's not enough. You need that interest of, this is this thing that we both are so geeked up about, so hyped up about. And I want to talk about it with this person more than anyone. And that can change your life.
Yeah. And what I highly recommend for our listeners as they're thinking about this about is to actually verbalize that to the relationship in your life. Like, I love this about you. I love this about us. That we could talk for hours. I lose track of time talking about comic books with you, Octavius. You actually verbalize that, and you're going to find that that supercharges your friendships, because so many of us right now might be feeling a little unsure of what grounds are these friendships built on? Like, are we still feeling it? Is the other person feeling it? We're having those internal doubts. And that's why modern friendship is so fraught. And when you can take that step and be authentic and say, I love this about us. I love this about our relationship. This is why our friendship is important to me. Here's the about. You would be surprised at how much that draws the other person into the second step of having that diligence, of following through and seeing you again and not pushing it off and not saying, oh, sorry, cancel last minute on that dinner. Let's do it again. Let's reschedule, and it doesn't happen. That diligence is built on a strong desire to actually see the person again and talk about comic books and do the fun things that you all enjoy.
Totally nailed it. That is like the crux. That is it.
What I love about our clients is they have this aha moment that they're like, wow, this is actually more under my control than I think. Because I think a lot of modern friendship right now, it feels, because we have this never-ending to-do list and our calendars are packed and things are constantly moving and shifting, it feels a little out of our own control. And a lot of it is just hope that the right people are going to come into our life and the right people are going to invite us to hang out on the couch together at the Central Perk coffee shop for hours on end. And that's just not how it works. So if we recognize that this is under our control, we put some time to creating an about and really focusing on what's the desire here of this friendship. Then we follow up and say, hey, I actually want to spend time. You're important enough to me that even with a busy calendar with a newborn and me going to the gym every morning, it's important for me to spend some time with you. I want to spend time with you. And then when we do it, show up in a way that we're not on our phone, we're not distracted, we're not thinking about what's going on with the newborn back home, but we're here, we're present, so we can express that delight together. It creates the friendship that we're all looking for.
The only thing I'd add is your friendship might not look like the way it used to look. Especially if you reconnect, if you reach out to a friend you haven't seen in a few seasons, you have to give yourself grace of, we're finding our footing. We're negotiating where we're going to practice our friendship. We're not roommates anymore. We're not, we don't live down the street from one another anymore. We're trying to figure it out. So it might take a little bit of time, but that's okay if you have, adjustable, flexible expectations.
And recognizing, as Johnny said, like that compartmentalization is happening whether you like to believe it or not. So instead of trying to shoehorn it in and pretend it's not happening, be okay with it. Accept that compartmentalization is, you're my farmer's market Sunday morning friend, and you're my go to Barry's boot camp every Thursday friend. And yeah, you're the guy I'm going to go talk about rock and roll music at the edge of the bar for hours on end on Friday nights. That's who you are. That's the friendship that I'm showing up for that matters to me. It's okay that, hey, our families don't play together. We don't have all these other things in common, but this compartment really works for me, and I want to keep it working for you too because it's important. And I think we oftentimes try to create super friends where we just think that they'll fit into every bucket and they can do everything that we like to do. And when we strive for that, we set ourselves up with poor expectations to really be hurt by friends.
And we don't appreciate the parts that do work.
Right.
It's like, all right, this is some of my friends don't translate. Some are daytime friends. Some are leisure time, night friends. Okay, well, what's our friendship about? Well, our friendship's about work. So maybe that's why happy hours feel a little strained. Like, really, our friendship is a daytime friendship. And I want to get down with other friends in my network. And that's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
I was talking about this compartmentalizing friendships a long time ago because I seen how things were, what was happening online. But I also have to myself radical different personalities. There's Johnny from The Art of Charm. There's also rock and roll Johnny. I have many different interests and they're all incredibly extreme. And so when other people were like, when they would hear about it, they're like, well, I don't understand why you just can't mix them all together. Some are able to handle the other personalities, but not everybody. And that's okay. They don't need to understand me completely. They only need to understand the part that they get and what we're experiencing together and those moments. That's all. If they want to learn more about me, I'm more than happy to tell them. But I know once I start talking, they'll put the brakes on that right quick. And that's okay. I'm, I'm fine with that. And everybody should be. It's okay. You're going to find out where those limits are, and you're going to work within those limits. And if you understand that and you're open about that and you're okay with that, you can build incredibly strong relationships within the reins of those functions and those experiences.
That brings up the delight point, and I really want to hone in on this because oftentimes, especially when we're reconnecting, we probably spend the least amount of time on the novelty and the fun and bringing excitement back to this relationship. And we are just like, if we just get together, it's going to be great, or it's going to be reconnecting. When in actuality, that third D of delight, like, are you actually enjoying the time that you dedicated to spend? The time in traffic, the paying for parking, the Uber ride, the canceling a late dinner at work so that you can get there on time. We are all time constrained. So if we're not going to go into a situation where we're like, this is going to be a great time for me, odds are we're going to say no and flake. And if you're trying to be someone who's rekindling relationships and bringing people back into the fold, spend a little time thinking about the delight. Maybe it's not do the same old thing. Maybe it's go to the Dodgers game or a new experience or something that has that overlap of interest where you can both join in on that thing that really matters in your about of your friendship, because that's going to be more inspiring to get that time back together.
People don't spend enough time thinking about the delight piece. Like there's so much buildup of finding the time, finding the place. I offer a lot of exercises to help people understand like how to talk to their friends. One of the biggest mistakes I see is offering unsolicited advice. And that's something that can really distance a friend, distance a friendship, or cool a friendship if you dominate your friend. If you say, you know what, you should do this. You should go here. You should go to Target and buy your socks. You should go here. And one of the most delicious things about friendship is it's one of the only relationships we have between equals. You know, almost every other relationship has these power dynamics, our boss, our employees, our children, our parents, but friendships are equals. And if you start dominating your friend, here's what you should do. Here's what I wouldn't do that. I would do that. Your friend is going to feel like this isn't what I'm looking for. This is unbalanced. So, I know another thing is venting or dominating your time with venting without being mindful and asking for consent. Like, hey, Johnny, can I vent for 5 minutes about the bad day I'm having? And then sticking to the 5 minutes, making sure, is it a good time for you for me to vent? Like all those little decisions that tell your friend, I value you, I value your time, and we're on the same playing field.
A lot of our clients have expressed frustration around taking on the therapist role in friendships that aren't working any longer, because that venting phenomenon, it feels it's so fraught right now for us to find those healthy places to do it. And when we then reconvene, it's just easy to fall into that. Like, let me just get all this off my chest. Like, I'm with someone that I know, like, and trust a lot. You're my friend. And when we're doing that repeatedly, it wears on the relationship. And I know I've done it and pushed friends away, and I know I've been on the receiving end of it and felt like this really isn't working for me anymore. It's just a deep vent session where I'm an unpaid therapist. I really want a friendship where, yeah, we can both bring our authentic selves, but we're supporting each other and we're sharing the good and the bad. And it's not just one note.
Yeah, and to be mindful of it listen, I have 5 minutes. Let me take 3 sips of this wine and then I'll shut up about my boss and then stick to it. And then your friend, it builds up trust. It's you telling your friend, I recognize that this is your free time and you are listening to me. And then say, thank you for listening. Thank you for being such a good listener. What's new with you? One mistake people make is when a friend shares something challenging, you want to offer your experience to show that you empathize, but you run the risk of taking over the focus of the conversation to be, a friend who just got dumped of like, oh my God, I got dumped. It was so horrible. Remember, I had to move home and it was really hard. And then you're off on a tangent about how horrible your time was instead of, oh my God, that's so horrible. I've been dumped before. So what are the next steps? Like, what can I do to help you? And subtly turning it back to the friend who's in distress. And I just wanted to make people aware of these little quirks that we do in our conversations that really that might distance people, and you may not know it because you think you're empathizing, you think you're listening, but that's not what friends are looking for.
In a lot of ways, it's the best intentions, but it's poor communication that drives a wedge between your relationships. Like, you can care deeply about this person, and you can think that giving all of your experience and advice is going to help them overcome this massive challenge that they keep venting to you about. When in reality, their experience is different than yours. You hung on to one detail and then started making assumptions and said, okay, I've been through this exact thing. And that's not what someone who's on the receiving end of that challenge wants to hear and feel in that moment from someone that they might be venting to just out of safety, where they don't have any other opportunity in their life to share this. And we focus a lot in our program around trying to recognize those emotional bids, Dr. John Gottman's work around romantic relationships, but they are foundational to every relationship in our life. And when we can turn towards those emotional bids, when people are sharing the things that really matter to them, we strengthen those relationships in our life. And that's a big skill, recognizing and turning towards emotional bids in your friendships that really deepen and strengthen those relationships.
Oh my, friends are great for that. Like, I give some examples of bids in my book about, what newsletters are you enjoying? What podcasts have you been listening to? Like, that's a great way to deepen a connection with a friend of what are we going to talk about? Like, what are you into? What movies have you been seeing? I want to watch a good documentary. Have you watched anything lately? Like, those are all great, more effective messages than, hey, I miss you, man. Like, thinking of you. Like, what? Like, that sounds like I don't know what to do with that.
And close the loop.
Yes, like, I miss you. Have you seen any good movies? I want to watch a new movie this weekend. And then you could be in touch about the movie of here's what I thought.
That part, the
yes.
Closing the loop is so
Closing
important.
The loop.
What did you enjoy about that movie? What did you enjoy about that podcast episode that your friend shared with you to showcase that you did listen? Because again, we're turning towards the emotional bit. If you're seeking what people in your life are enjoying and they want to share, and then you're not closing the loop, you're not turning towards that emotional bid, well, they're going to be less likely to share anything with you. Like, I get annoyed too. And it's just like, okay, I'm now your sommelier. I'm picking your movies for you. I'm giving you all these restaurant recommendations. Did you even go to that sushi spot in Tokyo? Does it matter? It's very easy to solicit this information, but close the loop, share with your friend, appreciate their recommendation, appreciate why you enjoyed that podcast too.
Oh my, can I share you guys one of my favorite texts for studying friendship?
Yes.
It's Hollywood Walk of Fame speeches. They're fantastic for understanding how friendships develop. One of my favorite Hollywood Walk of Fame speeches is at Guy Fieri's, speaking of Triple D, Guy Fieri's Hollywood Walk of Fame. He's getting a star. And Matthew McConaughey gives a 4-minute speech about their friendship. And Matthew McConaughey says that they started their friendship because McConaughey was in a Airstream traveling the country, watching Triple D, and he wanted to know, where should I eat in Spokane this week? I'm going to be here. So he called up Guy Fieri and said, hey, I'm going to be in Spokane. Where should I eat? Just like you said, a bid. And Guy Fieri said, oh my God, you should go here, here, here. And then Matthew McConaughey said, hey, I'm going to be in Tucson. Where should I eat? And that's how they developed their friendship. That was the clear and compelling about, is where do we eat on the road? But then they got together in LA and they bonded over their deeper values of family, fame, spirituality. And that's how their friendship deepened. And that's how they became best friends. And they're off playing bongos together. Like, there's photographic evidence of them bongoing. But it started with that about of what are we going to talk about? Roadside eateries. Of course you talk about it with Guy Fieri. And that is exactly to your point of starting with newsletters, starting with not newsletters, starting with bids and growing from there. Just like my friend who started with comic books. And then, then he's saving his friend's life. Like, this is how friendships work. Put this knowledge to use in your own life.
As we wrap, I know that a lot of the reasons that one of the main reasons that a lot of our clients join us is because they're feeling their friendships are stale, imbalanced. They want a fresh start in their social life. And you recommend a cleanse in the book that I think is a great starting point for a lot of us who might be feeling that malaise around relationships and want to know where to get started to start to build better relationships in their life. So can you just walk us through at least the first few days of the cleanse? What can our audience do to start to reset their modern friendships?
That's a great question. To reset your modern friendships, I highly recommend understanding which friends belong in which tier, and understanding that, some friendships are active, some are more nostalgic. It doesn't mean that the friendship is dead. It just means there's not a compelling reason that you guys need to stay in touch very often right now. We aren't told this in pop culture, but we can negotiate our friendships. You can say, I want to spend more time with you. I miss you. What's important to you? I want to help. People tend to keep those around that help and care about what they care about. That's how people work. That's how they make decisions about their time. So work with that. Some of the suggestions are really just classifying your friends and understanding the different roles that you play for each other. Tom Rath wrote a great book called Vital Roles, and he goes into the 8 different roles that our closest friends play for us. I just had a list. I felt like a little kid again. The vital roles that our friends play for us. And when you understand the role that your friends play for you and the roles you play for them, what that does is removes uncertainty. And that's important because uncertainty creates anxiety. Like, do you know why your best friend keeps you around? Can you articulate it? And it's like, oh, well, she's my collaborator. We always try new things together. My husband's my companion. I go out for dinner with him. I live a life with him. One of my best friends is my navigator. I go to her for advice. So when you have the language of understanding which roles your friends are playing, it'll give you permission to invest in the friendship of, well, of course I want to spend time with her. She's my mind opener. She introduces me to new bands. Johnny, I'm sure you have all sorts of mind openers in your world of people who show you like cool, newest, cutting edge things that you're going to be geeked out about. And that's what your friendship's about, is we share like these, I have a friend we talk about NASA discoveries, and I love that. Like, he's my person I go to talk about NASA with. And, my cleanse is designed to be very low lift. All of my advice is, for fairly lazy people who don't want to change a lot about themselves. Like, that's my goal. Is I'm not telling you have to be a whole brand new person, but I'm telling you that maybe the way you think about these relationships can change, and think like, I already have amazing friends that I like. How can I spend more time with them? I don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to understand, how your circle looks the way it does, like why it looks like that. So then when you start making new friends, you'll give it the best chance to develop in a really beautiful way.
Well, we love that. And we know that when we start to think different, we behave different and show up in new ways for these friends that matter in our life. Thank you so much for joining us. Where can our audience find out about the book?
Oh my gosh, Modern Friendship is everywhere books are sold. I'm so enormously proud of this book. I've interviewed over 100 people for it. There's all sorts of experiences represented. I interviewed men for it too. And I really want people to use this as a tool to diagnose what they're seeing, and also to feel empowered that there's a way forward. Like, your best friendships are ahead of you. That's how I really feel. Like, they're ahead of you. Go get them. I'm also on Instagram at Anna Goldfarb, and I have a Substack called Friendship Explained at annagoldfarb.substack.com. And it was described as wise and silly, which is basically my brand. So it's wise and silly. I got you.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.